Hey everyone. This week I want to talk about the topic of getting stuck in your mind. And the reason is because I had a couple of days of it during the week. I think it was coming off last weekend, Sunday and Monday. I had 2 days where consistently I was going through my days, often waking in the mornings, and then any sort of quieter moments I had thoughts going through my head, usually about problems in my life, things about, not having enough work, past relationships and past issues. And what I wanted to share about today was how I get through those times. I like describe it to other people as I had a couple of days of getting a bit mindy, which is because most of the time I've learned strategies to sort of just be. But then every now and again, that thought stream becomes kind of quite loud in my brain. So I wanted to talk about that. Do you relate to it at all, Kevin?
Yeah, take me through what you're thinking, and I do. I relate.
What I'm thinking about thinking.
Yeah. Well, the first point that came up from our emails earlier today was presence, and I've got so many stories about not being present.
So one of the things that
unpack it a bit more. Yeah,
I think the core. I will unpack it. So, and first thing I want to do is whether this is a problem or not, because most of us walk around all day, every day, with our minds continually talking to us. It's almost like we identify with that continual mind stream of being us. And this is the crux of it. Is it's actually an identity question. Most of us think that continual stream and everything that stream says is actually true, and never really question it because we actually think it's us. Now, I have worked out over the years that actually what your mind is actually saying isn't us. Isn't me, sorry, isn't us. You can decide for yourself. But for me, it isn't me. Because if I stop that, I'm just here doing a podcast with you. Like there's none of this bullshit about what the problem is in my life or where I've been or what's happened in the past. I'm just here talking to these guys and talking to you about this. And that's what is.
Yeah.
And for me, that's the concept of presence. And all the beauty in life, all the enjoyment in life, and all your power in life comes from right now.
Yeah.
Comes from what I'm saying and what we're creating together right now.
And staying present with it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And when you brought this topic up, I went back to my ontological human being book, and one of the ways of being is presence. And
because everyone has an ontological human being.
Yeah, and that's right. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, ontological is the study of being, understanding more about yourself. Yeah. So I've been working on this for the last 2 years, and they're what they call well, I'll just read it out. The presence is being so intentionally related to matters and others that you give them your undivided attention and care. And both of those, attention and care. Yeah, and when you said that through earlier, I was like, man, I've had a couple of weeks where I've done some really weird things because I'm not being present. I'm not being intentional about and paying attention to what I'm doing. The care factor was there, but I did a stupid thing the other week where I walked in someone else's apartment thinking it was my apartment. Yeah, and that's because I was doing some housekeeping task, but thinking about 5 different other things. So I wasn't being present. And I know I've caught myself out talking with my daughters even this week about things that I'm juggling other things, and then I've got to say, well, no, come on, be present. You want to give, you have the care, but you also got to have the attention to be able to be present.
I think last week we also talked about the idea of responding to feedback in a centered way, responding, not reacting. And you can respond a lot more effectively and not react when you are present. So there's a
Absolutely.
connection back to that as well.
Yeah.
So I think about, how did I get through that? If we connect it back to presence, how did I get through that little period? Is the first step is becoming aware of your attention and your identity going into that thought stream. So a bit like you when you're in your house and you're doing 5 things, and it's, as your attention gets sucked into that, you've got to become aware that distance between your thoughts and your presence is closing, and your attention's getting sucked in there.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of things you can do. The first one is, the awareness is key, and then you put your attention back into your body. And the side one to that is take 3 really good deep breaths between in through your nose and out through your mouth. So your breath is almost like a gateway to presence. So even just becoming aware of your breath going in and out, we all know this from mindfulness, will allow you to disconnect from the thought stream and come more into the immediate moment.
Yeah.
So I tend to do this, and I tend to, because the great sages of our world, the meditators of our world, say you should meditate 2 hours every day. I don't really like shoulds. And I tend to do things because they work for me in my life rather than what other people say I should do. So I tend to meditate in the morning, and I'll do some mindfulness in the morning, but I'll drive up to traffic lights and I'll do 5 minutes of breathing. Because what else are you going to do at traffic lights?
5 minutes, huh? Which way do you travel?
Some pretty bad red lights around where we live. Supermarket trolley.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Standing there in the aisle. So I think the more you can be aware of those things, the better. What helps you be more present and get out of that mind stream?
One of the things that I might have mentioned this in previous episodes, but distractions is actually a way for me to get present. And what I do, I live near the beach, so I just walk outside and go for a little walk, maybe 10 minutes, and come back, and I just find I'm more productive and I'm more present with whatever the thing. So it gives me time out there to clear whatever else is in my mind, and then focus back on what I'm trying to work on, or be present with. And I can go, in some days I can be on 4 or 5 different walks at different times, and I get up a lot from my desk. I even use my watch tells me every hour that I need to stand.
Nice.
Yeah, and that helps from a little bit of a health point of view, but it's more that breaking
the mental impact.
Yeah.
This is going to sound really weird as well, but Kevin and I play tennis together, and I've noticed over the years that when I am in my mind at tennis, like I've got to win this point, or we've got to win this point, or I got to hit a forehand or a backhand, or I'm almost playing in my mind what I need to do before it's happened, it never goes well. Whereas if I am present and just respond in the moment, which is kind of like that flow way of doing things, it always goes better.
Yeah.
Not saying I win every point, as you've noticed, but
I won't say anything. But you're right. Yeah. And and even I brought up ontological, and I'm not too worried about people understanding that or not. But understanding yourself is all about being in flow.
Yeah.
We know surfers talk about that a lot. So when you're on a wave and you're in flow, everything just works together. And it's anything you're doing. If it's feels easy, it's because it's coming from inside, and you're present with that moment, and that's all there is.
Yeah.
And it's just great. And back to your tennis, you need to work on that flow bit a bit more.
To work on my backhand is what I need to work on. So I think, let's summarize that we all have periods where we get stuck in our minds, and it's difficult because it distracts us. That when we identify with that mind stream, it distracts us away from what's actually really happening in our life. And it distracts us away from the present moment, which is where we have the most power, and it's where we can get the most joy from life. So what I think we are really saying is to experiment with ways to get more joy in life by being more present and recognizing that you don't have to be in your mind all the time. What do you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. You did one of the other points you mentioned was something where, what was the second point about mind?
Disconnecting or being aware that you've disconnected.
Yeah, but you used the
attached to
term. I
mind stream.
can't remember what the term was. Anyway, we'll cut that piece out.
No, we won't. All right. See you guys. We'll catch you next week. Bye.